What's up, horror family? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm your host bringing you the most spine-chilling true stories from around the world. And today, oh man, today we're diving deep into a story that's gonna make you sleep with the lights on for weeks. You guys know The Conjuring, right? That movie that had you gripping your seat from start to finish, heart pounding, checking over your shoulder every 5 seconds? Well, here's the thing that made it even more terrifying. Those 4 words that flashed on screen at the end, based on a true story. But here's what Hollywood didn't tell you. The real story is so much worse than what they showed in that movie. Like seriously guys, what the Perron family actually went through makes the film look like a Disney movie. Before we get into this nightmare, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. We're getting so close to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything. If this story gets your heart racing, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. Have you ever had a paranormal experience? I read every single comment. Alright, let's dive into the real horror story that inspired The Conjuring. It's 1971, and we're in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Roger and Carolyn Perron just bought their dream home, a beautiful 18th century farmhouse sitting on 200 acres of land. They weren't moving in alone though. They had 5 daughters: Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April. This was the perfect American family, you know? Roger worked as a truck driver, Carolyn was a stay-at-home mom, and the girls were just excited to have this huge house to explore. They were happy, optimistic people who never expected anything but good times ahead. Roger had been dreaming of this moment for years. A big house where his whole family could live comfortably and make memories together. And they thought they'd found exactly that. But on their very first day, something happened that should have been a red flag. As Roger was standing by the front gate, admiring their new property, an old man approached him. Turns out this was the previous owner of the house. "Hope you folks enjoy the place," the old man said. But then his expression got serious. "Just one piece of advice. Never turn off the lights before you go to sleep." Roger laughed it off. "What are you talking about, old-timer? How's anyone supposed to sleep with the lights on?" The old man's face went pale. "I don't know why, son. I just know that if you turn off those lights, you'll never get a good night's sleep again. Just trust me on this one." Roger thought the guy was either drunk or pulling his leg. So naturally, that first night, they turned off all the lights and went to bed like any normal family would. Everything seemed fine. They slept through the night without any problems. But the next morning at breakfast, something weird happened. Andrea, the oldest daughter, came down to breakfast looking confused. "Mom, Dad, did one of you come into my room last night?" Carolyn looked puzzled. "No, honey. Why?" "Well, I was tossing and turning, couldn't get comfortable. Then someone came into my room, adjusted my blanket, and tucked me in really nicely. Felt like someone was taking care of me. But it wasn't either of you." That's when all the other girls chimed in. "That happened to us too." They all had the exact same experience. Someone had come into their rooms and tucked them in. Roger tried to rationalize it. New house, the girls were probably just imagining things. The doors were locked, the gates were secure. Nobody could have gotten inside. But this wasn't a one-time thing. This happened every single night for an entire year. Roger was on the road most of the time for his trucking job, only coming home on weekends. So he missed most of what was happening to his family. By the second year, things had changed dramatically. Whatever was in that house had stopped tucking the girls in. Now it had a new target, Carolyn. The girls knew something was in their house, but they weren't scared. This presence had been gentle with them, but now it was focusing all its attention on their mother. Carolyn started experiencing terrifying things. In the middle of the night, her bed would shake violently. Something would grab her blankets and rip them off the bed. When she tried to tell Roger, he was either too tired from driving or just didn't believe her. Then one morning, Carolyn woke up with mysterious marks all over her body. Her neck, her arms. They looked like someone had been stabbing her with needles while she slept. She was in agony, and when she went to tell Roger, she saw something that froze her blood. There was a shadow figure standing behind the bedroom door, putting its finger to its lips, telling her to stay quiet. Carolyn was trapped. Every morning she'd wake up with new wounds. When she tried to tell her daughters, they'd say, "But Mom, the spirit is nice to us. It used to tuck us in. It would never hurt anyone." Even her own family didn't believe her point. One day, while Carolyn was cooking in the kitchen, she smelled something horrible, like rotting meat. The smell was coming from upstairs, specifically from April's room. She found a large cardboard box in the corner. When she opened it, her youngest daughter April was inside, crying. "The lady put me in here," April sobbed. "I was playing hide and seek with my sisters, and this woman came and locked me in the box." "What woman?" Carolyn asked. "She's standing right behind you, Mommy." Carolyn turned around, and there she was, a woman in white, staring at her with hollow, hateful eyes. In that moment, this entity rushed at Carolyn and entered her body. The possession had begun. Once the spirit took hold of Carolyn, the entire house became a nightmare. The entity that had once seemed protective of the children turned malicious toward everyone. Carolyn would speak in voices that weren't her own. She'd say, "I am Bathsheba Sherman, the first owner of this house, and I can see them, spirits with no heads, no arms, all wanting to kill me. Why do they want to hurt me? What did I do?" She'd throw things around the house, completely out of control. The family was witnessing a full demonic possession, and they had nowhere to turn. Roger finally realized the severity of the situation when one of his daughters told him, "Daddy, there are 7 soldier spirits on the other side of this wall. They keep calling me to come over there, but I can't cross. I stay on this side of the wall." That's when Roger knew this thing was messing with all their minds. Desperate for help, the parents contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous paranormal investigators you've seen in all the Conjuring movies. When Lorraine first stepped into that house, she immediately took 2 steps back. She could sense that this wasn't just one spirit, there were multiple entities, and they were powerful. But here's what made this case special for the Warrens. Lorraine was a mother herself. When she saw what was happening to Carolyn and her children, she convinced Ed that they had to take this case. They had to help this family. The Warrens decided they needed to communicate directly with whatever was possessing Carolyn. They took her down to the basement and conducted a séance. But this spirit was so powerful that during the séance, it lifted Carolyn, still tied to her chair, completely off the ground and suspended her in midair. Roger, the Warrens, and Andrea all witnessed this impossible display of supernatural strength. The lights flickered, objects flew around the room, and the Warrens realized this wasn't going to be easy. This entity was fighting back with everything it had. The Warrens wanted to perform an exorcism on Carolyn, but Roger absolutely refused. "Do whatever you want with the spirits," he told them, "but I will not put my wife through an exorcism. I won't watch her suffer through that torture." Without Roger's permission, the Warrens couldn't proceed. Eventually, they stopped coming to the house altogether, leaving the Perron family to deal with this nightmare on their own. For 10 long years, the Perron family lived in that house. Every day was the same. Every night brought new terrors. Carolyn would wake up with fresh wounds. New spirits would appear. The haunting never stopped, never lessened. They couldn't afford to move. They had put everything they had into this house. They were trapped, both financially and supernaturally. When they finally managed to leave the house in 1980, you'd think their nightmare would be over. But according to Andrea Perron, her mother Carolyn never fully recovered. Whatever had attached itself to her during those 10 years, it never let go. Even after leaving the house, Carolyn continued to experience the same symptoms, the same unexplained phenomena. The entity had become permanently attached to her. In 2022, someone new bought the Conjuring house. The new owner claimed that the Perron family's story was all psychological, that nothing supernatural had ever happened there. But even he admitted one thing: you definitely feel like someone else is in the house with you. What really happened in that basement room that the Warrens discovered? What's still lurking in that farmhouse in Rhode Island? Nobody knows for sure. Here's what I want you guys to understand. And this is the scariest part of this whole story. Sometimes, spirits don't just haunt places. They attach themselves to people. And once they're attached, they don't let go. That might be exactly what happened to the Perron family. They moved into a house with a dark history, and something there was waiting for the right person, someone vulnerable enough to possess. Carolyn became that target. This story is a perfect example of why you need to research the history of any old house before you move in. The Perrons had no idea what they were walking into. If they had known about Bathsheba Sherman, about the dark history of that property, maybe they would have made a different choice. But sometimes, by the time you realize what you're dealing with, it's already too late. Guys, if this story gave you chills, make sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends, but maybe warn them first. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced something paranormal. Your stories might just inspire my next video. And remember, some doors should never be opened, some houses should never be lived in, and some spirits should never be disturbed. Thanks for watching, Horror Family. Sweet dreams, if you can manage them after hearing this story. Until next time, keep those lights on, and I'll see you in the next one.